I've lived 1,000 lives. I've piloted 1,000 souls. I've killed and fought at night just for another role.
This is the Happy Jacks RPG podcast, a roundtable discussion that's a mix of friendship, humor, unbridled enthusiasm, and tabletop RPG topics sent in from around the world.
Just for another role.
Hello, and welcome to the Happy Jacks RPG podcast, season 34, episode 1. My name is Kimmy.
I'm Clara.
And I'm Kadave.
In today's episode, Azure Talon asks for help with a teen girl gamer who's getting unwanted attention. Ellie shares a Lady Blackbird story, and from the archive in 2018, Turlin asks if we've been so in character that we've ever had to do things that we didn't want to do. If you'd like to contribute a question or story to the show, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. Or you can drop something in the mailbag channel of the Discord at happyjacks.org/Discord. Please send in stuff. Do the thing, please. Okay. Announcements. JackerCon is July 12th through the 14th. It's an epic weekend of online gaming and is a long tradition for the Happy Jacks community. It's fan-run with support from me, and games have been posted all over. There's a bunch of games already. Amazing things. There's people, someone else is running Starscape. It's very exciting.
Nice.
Nice. And then there's a whole bunch of just, like always, a buffet of very different flavors of games, and it's very exciting. So do the thing. And you can come play for free. You can just join, sign up for games on the Discord. That's happyjacks.org/Discord. Starscape is kickstarting July 9th.
Woo-hoo.
So woo-hoo. If you go to goldenlassogames.com/Kickstarter, you can follow the page and be notified exactly when it goes live, or you can go back later. But notifications are
We
good.
still have a little time. I want more people to do it to make Kimmy make Battlestar Galactica characters.
Yes, that's our
what I
next
want.
one.
Work harder. Click the follow.
Yeah, we're having like follower goals. So the next one, we've unlocked Firefly, we've unlocked Star Trek Next Generation, we've unlocked Farscape, which was like my exciting.
I was gonna say, why was Farscape before Battlestar Galactica? And then I realized, no, it's beloved to Kimmy.
Yes. Also we have to hold some of the beloved ones up high to
true.
encourage.
Also,
So-
I feel like a BSG crew for your game would end up being the opposite of what you want it to, of what the game is designed. It's about friends in space. Well, there's drama, but
it's about
BSG
found
is
family,
about-
and BSG is very much about that.
it's also a little bit about murdering everyone else.
Yes. But also, there's
There've been plenty of families that try and murder each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 This guy is Bolter. He's one of the civilian main touchstones I was thinking about in Starbuck for the hot shot.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah.
90% of the time I was designing that playbook, it was her in mind. So yeah, it's in there somewhere. But yeah, so if you go follow, if we get enough followers, then I will also release Battlestar Galactica pre-gens. Oh gosh, I can feel my anxiety and my heart just start racing when we start talking about the Kickstarter. It's oh gosh, it'll be fine. It'll be great.
Really great.
Yeah. Indie Designer of the Month, we're still in, it is the last day of June today. So starting next show, we will have our July Indie Designer of the Month because we took most of June off, so that didn't seem fair. All right. Mailbag number 1. Who would like to start reading this one?
I can do this one.
Okay.
Hi, Happy Jacks crew. Long-time listener, first time and a long-time emailer. My daughter, 16, is venturing into RPGs and is in a D&D group. And while I'm thrilled about her finding the hobby, I also want to be prepared for any potential social awkwardness, especially as she's the only girl in a group of boys. There was a recent incident at the game store where another patron the boys in the group knew focused unwanted attention on her. Luckily, my friend, the DM, intervened. This made me wonder, what are some tips you might have for young women new to the social dynamics of gaming groups, particularly those teenage years? Old man, Azure Talon on Discord. I liked your letter. It was short.
That's why Claire was like, I picked that
That's
one.
why I dove on
Well,
that.
I mean, it's specifically a more important question for the two of you to talk about.
I'm also very excited to answer the question, but mostly.
I mean, other than my advice of stand up to a-holes.
Yeah.
Well, so you have you have.
Well, I do
Daughters,
have daughters.
yeah.
But I'm saying as a guy gamer that plays in groups with women in public,
Yes.
if there's somebody there that's being creepy or weird, say something.
Yeah.
Don't make them have to do it every time, because that can be dangerous or awkward for them. You can stand up too.
Yeah. I think the biggest trick with this group is the teenage guys may not pick up on the fact that they're being creepy. They may not realize that their friend is being made uncomfortable by it. Because a lot of times stuff like that flies under the radar if you're not the one experiencing it, or if you haven't experienced it before. So yeah, and like this is such a classic case because most of the time, like when I've been in groups, even ones that are playing in like a public venue, it's not the people that I know who are in the game with me who are being dicks. Like it's someone else in the store, or it's someone else like who's doing that. Even most of the time at conventions, like there's always like some like there's the occasional horror story from someone who's actually at the table, but most of the time when people are sitting down at a table, like they know that they're there with you for a while, so they're trying to be on their best behavior.
Yeah. No, I kind of have the same. The only time I was really like bothered by a person at a gaming table, it was at a convention. And it's mostly because like I have a very like firm boundary on like people touching me, and this person was just like very like just like a hand on the shoulder kind of person. And I don't know if it was like subconscious or not, but he did stop after my partner like sat at the table. So anyway,
I roll for everyone who's listening at home.
Like but like even if like someone I knew, like someone I know wouldn't touch me is really the answer. But no, it's hard because like advice for a parent is like different than like if I was talking to like a teenage girl or actually just a teenage anyone who is worried about being aggressed at tables or interacted with poorly. But like it is mostly like it's better guys stand up for your friends. And also like we're currently in a space I think where like culturally where a lot of women know that they're allowed to say like, hey, what the fuck? But for anyone who wants a fun way to say that, my favorite response to gross comments is always going to be, why'd you say that?
Yeah.
It's like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a weird thing to say to me.
Yeah. You said that out loud. Do you realize you said that out loud?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I think back to myself as a teenager, and I thought it was amazing, but I was also terrified of everything. And I think...
That's for most of us.
Yeah, 100%. But it's
whether
like...
they want to admit it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I thought of myself as a badass, and I would never, I think, have wanted to admit that I was being made uncomfortable at a table. There's like that, well, I want to like belong. I don't want to be the one causing problems, especially if you're the only one. You can be worried about, will I be excluded next time if my having problems is too big of a problem for the group?
Yeah.
So that there's just so much pressure there. And even like as adults, we deal with that. But as a teenager, you're just like so aware of it.
You don't want to be hard to work with.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And it follows us in the industry, and it follows us in business and all these other things. I would say maybe have a conversation with her friends, like if she can over text or Discord or whatever, something else besides like in person during gaming time in the middle of a store. If she hangs out with them at school or something like that, that might be a great opportunity as well, where she can be like, hey, this has happened a couple times. And she doesn't have to name names, because you say that this person that was making her feel uncomfortable, she knows they know that person. She doesn't have to be like, so-and-so was making me feel really uncomfortable. It might be easier just for her to keep it in the hypothetical. Like, there's been a couple times I felt really uncomfortable with someone at the store. Can we like plan what we can do in that situation? So maybe it's a code word or something like that, where if she uses like that with the group, they know, hey, we're going to like close ranks. We're going to all focus on the game. We're not going to talk to anybody else. We're going to, just so they have a plan. So she has a way to communicate with the group that something is amiss without having to say in the middle of a game store, that person over there is making me feel really uncomfortable. Ideally, yes, she would feel that she could do that. But lacking that, having some sort of keyword like that can make it so they can help her feel more comfortable. They can kind of help protect her and be clued in that something is amiss, even if they're not picking up on it.
Yeah. And it's also like, if it's a persistent problem at the game store, it is also sometimes worth bringing up to the people who run the store. I like our friendly neighborhood game store, I feel like is very good about like not watching for it, like they're not patrolling, but there is like, I have always felt comfortable in that space to be like, hey, some patrons have been really gross to my party. Can I ask that is addressed at some point somehow? And like people are really good about it.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, it can be hard. I
don't have great advice beyond like, because it's kind of like being a teen is really fucking hard.
Yeah.
So it is more on like the adult who's running the game, and it is more on the friends. It sounds like it was the friend of the boys who was creepy, and if she didn't know them, then like that's even worse. And that is just on like the adult being like, hey, we're playing a game, can you go somewhere else?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, also, the other option is try and pull the game from a public venue.
Yeah.
yes.
Like, if you can schedule it where they all come over to your house and play, or one of the other kids' houses and play, with appropriate supervision for teenagers. But
Or find another venue. Like a lot of times, like libraries, you can play D&D at a library or something like that. Or if they all go to school together, maybe they can like start forming a club so that there's some sort of teacher there who they can
Faculty
play.
advisor.
Yeah, so they're in a safe space where like school rules apply, because a lot of times when that is the case, people are on better behavior, at least generally, than like in an open gaming store where they're like, you're not my mom, and like,
Yeah.
so that might be a helpful thing as well. If it's something that becomes a routine, then yeah, definitely looking for like a change of venue is a good idea.
And being very clear with, the other guys in the party, especially, like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of, that is the other thing of it, I think, is a lot of, like, again, being a teen is hard. That behavior is often, like, mimicked, and so they don't know it's bad. And they're like, all right, stop that now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and don't let people, the biggest thing is, like, don't let people tell her that, oh, he's just being mean because he likes you.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah, it's such a nightmare, and we need to just, like, kill that stereotype and that concept. And yes, sometimes it's true, but sometimes people are just being mean. And no matter what, girls shouldn't normalize being treated badly by people who supposedly have feelings for them, because that's what starts happening. And then it's sort of like the precursor to a lot of terrible relationship situations. So don't let anyone convince her of that, and don't let it be normalized in any way. Like, it's not okay, no matter what. If she's not uncomfortable, that's not okay, and something has to change. So, whether it's the venue, whether it's a code word, whether it's whatever, something needs to change if she's not comfortable. And I would also, like, as much as I hate saying, like, have her give up on the game, like, I know this is, like, a few steps down the line. Like, it is better for her to learn to not put up with it and to leave the game, even though that's a huge sacrifice, than for her to normalize and put up with it and let everyone else there think that it's okay. Just for her own well-being, she needs to know, hey, I love this, but it's okay if I give it up, if it's not fun and if I'm being made uncomfortable. Because so many times, like, marginalized people from all different communities are told, oh, just suck it up, it'll be okay. Or just ignore it, it'll be fine.
can't just get along.
Yeah, just get along.
Yeah.
Don't cause a problem about it. They don't really mean it.
Everyone else is cool with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, like you help her have like the backbone, because as a teenager she probably doesn't. There's a lot of like peer pressure happening, even if they're trying to be cool people, and she probably has a lot of pressure just to like keep playing, don't worry about it, don't make a scene, don't get hysterical. I hate that word. To like be like, no, if you're uncomfortable, we need to make sure something changes, and support her in that, and let her kind of be the guide to what needs to change, what needs to happen, what is she comfortable with. Give her ideas, but let her make those decisions, because she's needing to learn how to do that at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, just broadly, women set boundaries. Like just everyone in your game group, set boundaries. And this goes for all hobbies. I feel like set boundaries when you need to. Even you don't walk in and be like, and don't fuck with me. But like, but like also like you can walk in and just be like, hey, I'm not comfortable with this. So, because we do that when we play games too.
Yeah.
But yeah, set boundaries. Speak up when you need to say something. And if people are treating you poorly in a space, and they don't respond well to you saying, "Hey, I don't like being treated poorly," they don't care about you enough for you to stay there.
Yes.
And that goes for literally every hobby and relationships.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. And there are other gaming groups out there, especially now with online gaming being so normalized and with the youths being so tech savvy. Yeah, like she will absolutely 100% be able to find games where she is treated well and respected, even if it's not at an actual gaming table. So encourage that. All right. Yeah. All right.
I did mine. I don't have another one.
Okay.
I could talk about extempore. Like I could talk about it for hours because I care a lot about it. But
I feel
also,
like you gave good
it is
advice.
mostly repetitive, which is now me being annoyed.
That's all right.
Yeah.
All right. I can share this one with you, Dave.
Okay. Would you like to begin or would you like me to?
Either way, why don't you start and then just tag out and then we'll figure it out.
All right. Maybe I'll get to the second paragraph on page 2.
Okay. We'll also we'll sprinkle in a bunch of commentary.
I'm sure.
To liven it
like
up.
we always do. Yeah.
Let me be clear. This is not making fun of the person who wrote this email. We're like having them. I love these stories. Yeah. It is long.
Yeah, it is. And I'm trying not to read it like, "Hello, Happy Jacks. Please listen to the most boring lecture voice."
No, of course not.
So here we go. Dear Happy Jacks, this one is specifically for Rose, since she was intrigued by my short version of it on the Discord and asked me to write an email. When I asked if she meant an email or the mailbag channel on the Discord, she said, and I quote, "Yes." Oh, Rose. Please read that like the gnome lady saying, "Oh, Jonathan." So, oh, Rose. In D&D Honor Among Thieves, if you know what I'm talking about. One of my many TTRPG soapboxes from experience is that playing different kinds of TTRPGs is a learned skill. Mm-hmm. If you, the global you, have played more than one video game, you probably have first-hand experience with how even games in similar families can play very differently and require different approaches. Street Fighter and Halo are both combat-focused games, but being awesome at one doesn't guarantee prowess at another. Heck, even comparing the two first-person shooters like Halo and Far Cry or Overwatch doesn't guarantee a one-to-one translation of skills. I know I've been there, and in my experience, the same thing applies to TTRPGs. I agree with that.
Yeah.
The most clear example I have of this, and the one Rose asked me to elaborate on, was when I ran a 3-shot of Lady Blackbird for a table I just wrapped a 24-session campaign of public access with as a player.
What's public access?
It's the making a show RPG.
Yeah.
Wild, I have not heard of this game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wanted to thank the GM by giving them a break. How kind.
Yeah.
Thank you. As a person that GMs a lot, it's always nice when somebody goes, "Hey, just why don't you play? I'll do something."
Yeah.
I have always wanted to do that for my GM friends. I just don't.
At some point.
At some point.
I wanted to thank the GM, but blah, 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 blah. I wanted to continue with that awesome table, and when I gave them a choice of games to run a mini campaign of, they chose Lady Blackbird. They are incredible players in every sense of the word. When I found out at the end of our first section of public access that one of them had never played a TTRPG with a group before, My first response was, "Are you sure?" This group is open-minded, intuitive, conscientious, self-aware, and curious. They're the whole package. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes without saying that I wasn't expecting what happened next. Ooh.
Interesting.
I'm so scared.
What a twist.
What a twist.
On the surface, Lady Blackbird is very similar to Public Access, a free-form, player-driven game with loose party goal, find Captain Flint, in which players define what their skills mean and have lots of freedom to choose how to pursue and fulfill their goal, as well as to declare what is and isn't true about the game world. That being said, there are also a number of key differences that were made very apparent at my table. The PCs in Lady Blackbird are a preset cast of characters, with built-in backstories, personal connections, and motivations. But how they reach their goal is, in the game text, entirely undefined. There's no go here, do this, and then you'll find Captain Flint. The biggest difference, however, was the primary thing that distinguishes any game system from another: how PCs interact with the game world. The players had just come off of 24 weeks of a game that, while being freeform on the surface, is in fact on a very strong rail. You solve enough mysteries to get enough Odyssey tapes to solve the mystery of why the TV station disappeared. There's an underlying metaplot that the players cannot avoid or alter in any way. It's happening no matter what. And it's happening in a very specific way. And the way they seek information from NPCs is a strange and fascinating mix of active and passive. Yes, they declare and decide who they want to speak with and about what, but no matter what, they will only receive one capital C clue. Oh, I said that without even reading the part in parentheses. With the capital C. Per conversation or scene by way of making a single specific roll. And that clue will often not be a response to a PC's direct question, because clues are pre-written in the mystery to choose from a list and are intentionally amorphous and vague. Again, it's both oddly freeform and oddly restrictive.
Yeah.
A fascinating dance of contradictions. And because it's often spoken of as a given that these self-contained, player-defined games all share the same approaches and ways of interacting, I was not prepared for what happened once Lady Blackbird hit the table.
There's a lead up, but I'll jump to the part that the first session about the first session that made me realize something was wrong. Ooh, first session, okay.
By the way, come out swinging.
Yeah.
Listen, that's fine.
The
No
players
early.
had gone to Nightport, a place that's basically Moss Isley with the serial numbers filed off, to find information about Captain Flint's whereabouts. I sent them to the cantina. So for Lady Blackbird, if I haven't played it, but I've read it a couple times. You basically are all specific characters, like Ellie said. There's only pre-gens, like you are these characters, and aren't you looking for the captain? Like that's always the story.
That's the goal, yeah.
Yes.
I have been, 2 channels I work with have done Lady Blackbird actual plays, and I have not watched either of them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just going to admit it. I'm just going to say it because I cannot pretend I know how this game works.
Yeah. It's interesting because I've seen a couple people and I've talked to a lot of people who've played it, and it's very different stories, even though it has very similar parameters. So it's very interesting. So that's what they're looking for. So that when they're talking about finding information about the captain, that's part of the storyline. I sent them to the cantina and presented them with the bartender, who was clearly talkative, but in the game text, Captain Flint is a pirate king, a notorious outlaw with more than one price on his head, who rules by fear and has also been in hiding for the past several years. So the bartender isn't going to just randomly start telling strangers where to find him. The PCs have to seek out the information, and they have to ask. When the player sent the bartender away without asking anything about Flint, and then wondering aloud what they were supposed to do now, I did not understand what was happening at all. Thankfully, I prepped this adventure as a series of scenarios. Thank you, Justin Alexander. And had another NPC in the bar specifically to be more gregarious in the respect than the bartender was. And through her, I was able to guide the PCs to their next clue. And when they got to their next clue, the same thing happened again. They stopped asking questions and started waiting for information to come to them, and made assumptions that if the NPCs weren't just spilling out the beans unprompted, it meant it was a dead end.
Okay, first of all, I have no idea how public access works. So, like, what the contrast is. I know that was just explained, but it didn't grok.
Yeah.
This happens to me all the time as a player, where sometimes the GM will be like in their head, he's not a talkative guy. You gotta get him to talk to you. And I'm like, I'm hitting a wall and I truly don't know if I'm fucking up or if he's fucking up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop this line of questioning because clearly I've fucked up. Like, clearly I'm not, if you're not responding to me in any way, I can't push on this anymore. So, like, I can see this happening and just, and that not being like a bad player thing, like bad improv thing, just being a, like, the GM is not giving the sign that this guy is closed off in a way that you can needle your way through.
Right. Yeah. It's sort of like I feel like sometimes players are so afraid of being like the tropey stereotypical player who's like, I'm going to talk to this person. And you're like, they are a random person. They have nothing to do. Okay. They're Bob, the random guy. And and they just sit there forever and talk to them and keep like, oh, they must be really important. And you're like, no, they're not important. Like, didn't it? Like, I feel like sometimes players are so afraid of being that because there's so many internet memes and YouTube videos and stuff making fun of those people that sometimes they give up when there's like any sort of sign like, oh, they're not really that important. Oh, okay, then they just go.
I always blatantly ask them, like, did I just like trigger an NPC that doesn't exist? And they were like, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, if I don't know, I'm always afraid of doing the like, it feels unnatural to roleplay this long.
Yeah.
Because other people need to ask questions.
Yeah. Well, and there's a point where you're trying to be in character. And at some point, my character wouldn't keep bugging this person. Like, if they're being that closed off, then this is obviously not like a good avenue. So
It's kind of definitely a GM NPC juggle, too.
yes.
Like, you have to be able to convey that this person isn't the one you're looking for. But you still want the players to explore a world and feel like it is a world, not just a weird bunch of cardboard cutouts, like, standing around them creepily.
Yeah. And, like, and that is, the GM advice of, like, find it. Find a reason this guy talks to you. Talks to them. Or find another friendlier NPC, which is what this person did, who goes, yeah, the bartender, he's real close to him, so he's not going to give him up.
Yeah.
Like, get someone else to explain it.
Yeah. Yeah. Having the plan B in place already. Excellent choice. Yep. Let's see, where was I? I lost my place. I am sorry. There we go. Meant as a dead end. By the end of the session, I realized what had happened. Because the players were used to a game in which interacting with the game world meant asking for information in a roundabout way, rarely getting direct answers to their questions, and only getting one piece of vague but actionable information per scene, they didn't know how to interact with the game world that doesn't behave that way. They didn't know how to ask questions of NPCs or even to a certain degree of me as the GM, because they were not used to needing to. And they were also not used to the concept of giving multiple pieces of actionable information in the same scene and then having the freedom to act on it instead of having to wait till the end to form a theory and solve the mystery of where's Captain Flint. That realization was a huge relief because I had spent the lion's share of the session not being upset or frustrated, but being profoundly confused. When the session ended and the stream stopped, I initiated a conversation with my players. I identified what had happened. I explained the key differences between interacting with this game world versus the one they were used to, and reminded them to ask questions, the same as they always had. And hey, turns out, talk your players out of game is still a solution to most table problems. Because armed with this previously missing information, the players returned next week, dove in headfirst, and by the time they completed their adventure in 3 acts, they were as happy about how things went as I was, which is to say, very. Little happy face emoji. It was a fantastic game, and while the challenge for me as the GM, running LB for the first time, I'd played it but never run it, and discovering that I not only had to teach the game, I had to teach how to interact with it to boot, it was a good challenge, thanks to this particular group of players. I learned a ton, not just about GMing, but also about the things that we can't take for granted when it comes to the particulars of how to play a game and where the differences lie in even similar game families. I don't have a good short version of the story. And it's honestly the shortest possible version I can come up with and adequately explain things. I don't expect you to read such a long thing in the air. Too late. I'll be happy just knowing that Rose got her answer. And of course, my DMs are always open. Until next time, Ellie.
Thanks, Ellie.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of situations where it's about telegraphing, and it's one of those things that you literally just have to GM a bunch to start to get feel for it.
I'm so bad at it. Yeah.
Dork and I always use the rule of 3,
Oh, yeah.
right? Let players take 3 swings in a scene, and then you just figure out a way to give them the thing.
Aw, I like that.
It keeps
I like
the
that a
game,
lot.
especially in con games. That's where we played together
Yeah.
a lot. So you don't want to let the game grind to a halt because you have 4 hours to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just go, cool, all right, you guys are faced with this issue, this problem, whatever it might be, cool. First person tries something, well, that didn't work. Second person tries some wild idea that did not work. Maybe just because of the roles, maybe because it's just some crazy idea that really doesn't work for us as a GM. Like, because as a GM, it's okay to say no to your players.
Yes.
A lot of people, especially in sort of the today, like, improv-y feel of a lot of indie games, are all about yes and, like, oh, yeah, okay, that's a great idea. Yeah, of course, that'll work. Let's try this. But sometimes you just have to put the brakes on and go, well, that's really not feasible here. You can't pick a lock that's, 18 pins with a hair clip.
Right.
You
But
know,
that's
that's
when
not-
you have to get back into the yes and doesn't mean it works.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's going to be consequences.
Yeah.
That means you can try anything and something is going to happen with it.
Yeah. You can certainly try is, a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just waxing poetic before we started the show, where I was like, I'm just happy that we have so much more vocabulary to talk about games that we like and all of the things. Because, yeah, Lady Blackbird is clearly more of a storytelling game than it is like a crunchy mechanic game. And it's very good to be able to say, like, sit your players down at a table and be like, hey, we're playing a rules light, a rules light collaborative storytelling thing, where the narrative will shift focus as you pass it around. Fiasco. Versus like, and we're playing GURPS. Like, it's nice to be able to say that and be able to have people know it and know what they're telling you.
Yeah.
I am so curious about Lady Blackbird now.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like I don't want to play it out of principle.
I think it's interesting because, like, even though we have so many great terms to kind of describe things and, like, it helps people align their understanding of things more easily, I think a lot of times in today's world, and I am super guilty of this, there's a lot of times where I assume people know things that they don't just because they're very common in, like, my gaming groups. I've been working on like a press kit and stuff for Starscape lately, and I was sending it out to people to get like feedback before I sent it out to everyone else who's going to ignore the email. But like one of the things is 3 people wrote back, great, you have some mechanics listed. What is the base mechanic though? And I was like, oh, you don't know the base mechanic of PBTA. I should probably explain that. So it's like I had listed all the things that were different than normal PBTA, but I hadn't explained the base mechanic because I just took it for granted that everyone I would be emailing would know that about it. And it wasn't the case, which makes perfect sense. Now that I like reflect on it, I'm like, no, it's still a fairly niche system. Like I get it. But having players jump from one system to another where they do interact so differently, like someone was in chat was saying that Lady Blackbird is based on the same system as Brindlewood Bay, which I cannot...
No, I think it's public access.
Public access. Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, like, if you've had that type of experience, jumping to something like Lady Blackbird is very different. And even if you're, like, having that first conversation about this is how you interact and this is how you can work in the world, I think is important. And I feel like I wish that would be the norm in more games.
Yeah, no, we certainly take it for granted. It does remind me because there's always the ongoing conversation, at least in my world, about what the best game to introduce people to role playing is. And Powered by the Apocalypse is my, like, this is the best system for that. Because it also feels a little like, and this might be a different, I have a lot of reasons for this.
Oh, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
I like it.
This game, this story in particular, kind of reminds me of like the reason that I think PBTA is one of the better ones. Because like you cannot drop new players into Baron Munchausen, or like skeletons. Like it's just not going to work.
Well, and skeletons is like an inside joke
Yeah.
to
There are many
Yeah.
reasons you should not start with skeleton. Like,
Yeah.
but like if you're like,
little rest breaks.
yeah, if you remember, like when everyone was talking about Fishblade, like that joke, there is kind of truth to it where it's like I have brought people to play Fate, and I'm like, what do you do? And they're like, I don't know. What do you mean? Like, do I have a move I can do? It's like, nah, man, just figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
you cannot just drop people in the middle of the ocean and be like, and swim back.
Yeah.
Like you, and especially if you're coming from a crunchy game thing like D&D. But so yeah, it does feel a little like we do take that for granted. We because we all game with like actors and shit.
Yeah.
So there's this level of like, oh, there you go. Honestly, sometimes we don't have to run games. They run that players run themselves.
Well, and also a lot of us are around people who play a lot of different types of games.
Yeah.
So when you sit down, you're like, well, what kind of gaming experience is this? Oh, it's like card-based improv, or like we light a bunch of candles and we all die when they go out. Like we have a lot of interesting
It's dread with
experiences.
candles.
Yeah.
You're like, excellent.
Got it. Yeah. So like I feel like it's hard to step away from that sometimes and realize there's people who have zero understanding of that or haven't experienced that. So they need a primer. They need a little bit of an explaining of how exactly it works.
Every game can be somebody's first game.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think it's sort of a lesson for game designers
Yes.
because you have to at least make it a game that anyone could play.
Yeah.
Because there's a chance that there's going to be some group of kids or group of adults that walk past a game store and go in and are like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
All right, let's buy that and go play that on the boat while we're waiting for the fish to bite, whether or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, please write your game guides like it's someone's first time having to look up all that information and maybe put like a really important, like a really good table of contents. I'm not naming names, but there are, you all came up with one poorly written game guide in your head when I
Easily.
described it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Sorry.
same thing with the GMing sections. That's one of the things that really bugs me is so many. It's started to get better, and there's some really amazingly written GM sections out there now. But like for a while, it seemed like everyone assumes that everyone who was running a game had already done it previously. And it was like the GM guide needs as much like scaffolding, like to bring in like teacher terms to like help along, because it could be someone's first time playing the game. It could be someone's first time GMing a game. It could be someone's first time playing and GMing a game.
Oh my God, yes, because no one will run it for you.
Yeah, so a lot of people are like, I've never played a RPG. This sounds fun. I watched Critical Role or whatever it is that got them into it. I managed to wrangle a bunch of my friends to come and try this. And having that GM section written well so that people can really engage in it and have suggestions like this, like on your first session, make sure everyone understands how they can interact with the world. Like those are super key elements that, while yes, GMing is a skill that we learn, we get better at, we start having, more tricks in our hat, but rabbits in our hat, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Having like those suggested things there is becoming more common, but like it can really help GMs who are running your game for the first time avoid problems like this.
Also, as long as we're making wishes, put like the thesis statement of your game really in big letters somewhere that the GM can see it. Because tell them, I've always so that the players, when you have your session 0, you can be like, and this is a grimdark game where we're all gonna die.
Yeah.
Like this world is about telling sad stories by sad people. Awesome.
Yeah.
Make your pitch clear.
Yeah, make your pitch clear.
And every game has one. Like even olden games who are like, yo, this is just about, fighting and killing stuff. No, there's hearts to every game. There's like a message or something you're playing in every game. Like a lot of like original D&D stuff is like power fantasies, like stuff like that. Like find whatever it is you're doing.
Almost all RPGs are power fantasies.
Yes, absolutely. But
there
like,
are a precious few that are disempowerment fantasies.
yes,
That are sometimes real weird.
It's red markets.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, but there's like flavors of that too.
Sure.
So making sure people know, because I think I talked about this last week. I got in a fight with people on the internet, because I do that
Kimmy.
a lot all the time, about like Traveler, and like someone's like, Traveler doesn't have a thing, but I'm not going to talk about it. Go back and listen last week because I talked about it a lot.
Okay.
But I argued with them, and clearly I was right. I don't think that they ever got convinced of that, but whatever. But like, yeah, having that upfront and clear, and that's actually one thing that a lot of game systems don't do in their GM section. And it needs to be both clear for the people playing the game and buying the game, but it needs to be clear in the GM section, like, hey, this is what you're aiming for. This is the vibe. Because I know there were some people who were very disappointed with the materials they put out for the One Ring, the second edition that Free League did, because they were really upset that it was all in the Shire. Where if you really think about it, like that is a perfect starting point for anything. And having pre-made, like, they all wanted to be Aragorns. So it's like suddenly you're like, oh, most of the pre-gens are hobbits and you're in the Shire and you're on this very little adventure. But that's a great, like, I think about any video game you've ever played, like the first couple things are like, okay, go, pick up dog poop. Good job. Go you. You've got some XP.
Yeah.
I mean, even more basic, like, look around.
Yeah.
Move
Oh my
forward.
gosh.
Jump over a log. You
Yeah.
can duck under some logs.
Yeah. Demonstrate you can dodge roll and dodge roll back out.
Exactly.
Yeah. No,
So-
yeah.
Yeah, so having that element where it is literally like little training wheels, like, okay, you're in the Shire. Oh, stuff's really deadly to you even here. And I don't know, I think that showed a level from, because, I mean, we're all really impressed by Free League's quality. But specifically when they had the guts to put out that first, like, starters kit that was, like, Shire Adventure, it was it was key communication. This is a group about, this is a game about adventure, but like adventure in a world, like starting with hearth and home and family. Mm-hmm. And that is what you keep coming back to. And with their Yule mechanic, they came back to that. And all these pieces where that was the repeating piece of that. And if people and they communicate that really clearly with that beginning adventure and with all the stuff that they put in the books. Whereas if you were just like, oh, I'm going to play Lord of the Rings, people are going to pick it up and expect to be going and fighting, Smaug's brother. Like, oh, I want to fight a dragon.
Smaug's secret brother.
Yeah.
Bog.
Because that's what they want. Everyone pictures, I'm going to be swinging, glamdring and like doing all the things. And you're just like,
Where'd you get that?
yeah.
Yeah.
But sword is spoken for, please.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and it's like most people I know who do D&D even start at level 3 because level 1 is bad.
Yeah.
Like it's this is just a side mini rant I have, which is get a good sense of what your starting character is supposed to look like as well. Everyone starts D&D, and I assume One Ring now, being like, and I am Aragorn and Legolas's secret child, like energy.
So much.
And like, hey, that's great. It like in the D&D setting, it's like, I was raised by ninjas, and then they were assassins and raised me the greatest assassin. Anyway, I'm a level 1 rogue.
Yeah.
And I have 1 attack and 9 hit points. Let's go fight a dragon. Like it's so hard. You make these big backstories, and then like you start at level 1.
Yeah.
And there's like, oh my god, as long as we're making wishes, is your character better than everyone else in the world by virtue of having these stats? What does a layman stat look like versus your final stat, like versus yours?
Yeah.
Because again, my parents were ninja assassins, and I'm the last of my ninja clan.
Yeah.
Anyway, my stats don't reflect that, I think, because I can't kill an ooze. Although now that I think about it, I don't know that the baker can either. So like, yeah, you start in the Shire as hobbits,
Yeah.
and that's amazing.
Yeah.
But also, like, them hobbits don't know how to fight.
No, I mean, some a little
explicitly.
bit. Like on a curve, like if you're grading
Yeah.
on a hobbit curve, they're very good hobbit fighters. If you're grading them with other hobbits,
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In
mean-
every class, there's a kid that's going to get an A.
yeah.
But if you put them in the wrong class,
There you go. Yeah,
now they might be out of their depth.
yeah,
Yeah.
Right? You might be the smartest kid in 5th grade, but that doesn't mean you're ready for grad school. Like,
And amazing.
yeah. But yeah, I think that's an example of a game that's done a really great job of communicating what it's about and making like kind of scary marketing choices. Like you'd think that a company would be like, okay, we're gonna make the most exciting, the best adventure that's gonna get everyone, and it's a really good adventure. The way they've written it is amazing and really well done, but it's a very small town little adventure, and it just I admire so much the bravery it takes to do that, to communicate what you want your game to be about.
Oh my god, please do that though.
Yeah.
Yeah. If your mechanics don't reflect what your game is about, do better.
Yeah.
I feel bad saying it like that because I'm not a game designer.
Yeah.
But like your mechanics, if your game is about having big feelings and every rule that you have is about how to punch a guy, I don't know that we know how. Maybe that's how you express big feelings, but perhaps reevaluate that.
Yeah. Like it can't be everyone.
I love you. Ow.
Yeah.
We just talked about this.
Well, the bull in Masks is a really good example of that, because they are the one who has the lover and the rival and the back and forth, and they are like the bull in the china shop. Like literally, that's what it is, and they get big feelings and they hit things. But if every playbook was like that, then it wouldn't be interesting anymore.
Yeah.
The same thing with like you were saying, if you're saying this is about feelings, but then everyone just hits stuff all the time, like that's not interesting. Like if everybody can do it.
Yeah, if you call yourself a role play experience, but you don't incentivize role playing, maybe you're not a role play experience. Maybe you're a simulationist experience, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe you're a war game. That's fine. I'm not talking to any systems in particular. I'm just, saying it. And that's, again, fine. But you have to stop calling yourself a high emotion role play game.
Yeah. Just not even
Unnamed games.
But yeah, and just be clear with it. Like, just be like, this is what I am.
Yeah.
Call a spade, and don't be like, yeah.
And it'll save players a lot of grief too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm. This is my year of playing games I don't like. So I'm.
Congrats.
No, it's actually been very interesting. 'Cause
Oh, okay.
I didn't like. I'm gonna just put it on the internet. I didn't like Blades in the Dark, and now I'm in a game of Blades in the Dark, and someone bounced off the system harder than I did.
Ooh.
And in that moment of me trying to explain to this other person why Blades in the Dark, like the stress mechanic exists and what it does, I was like, oh, that's what this system is doing. Huh. And it just gave me a better appreciation. So I'm learning a lot. I don't recommend doing this with anything else. Maybe rewatch movies and eat food that you thought you didn't like. Mm-hmm. But like, sometimes your gut is right the first time.
Yes. Accurate. And you can still learn a lot from a game that you don't like.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of games that
Sure.
I
You
don't
don't like.
Yeah, that I don't particularly like, or I there's like one element of them I really like, and other things I would never ever play again. It's like trying to get my toddler to take one bite of every food. Like, it helps to try it. Like, try it and see what you think of it, and then at least you can like incorporate the pieces you like into whatever you do in the future.
Yeah. I was going to make a shady joke, and now I'm not going to say it. Let's go to the next thing. I'll say it off air.
Okay. Mailbag number 3 from the archive, 2018.
Oh my God.
I feel like we've gone around circle again. It's your turn, Clara.
God damn it. How
Ah.
did this happen? All right, it's kind of short. It's short.
Yeah.
Greetings and happy holidays of all flavors, beloved jackers. Ah, yes. June 20... Is it the 30th?
24th.
June 30th. Happy holidays. Solstice, even.
Well, this is from 2018, so it's way
I know, I'm
late.
being
okay.
silly.
Okay.
Long-time listener, found you around season 14, listened back to season 1, and also as I also listened forward first time writer, now second time.
Yeah.
So a story that leads to a question. In a superhero game, there were 2 players, me and Dude. I played a cat burglar. Rules are inconvenient. Trying to be reformed. Crook hero. CB. Dude played Earth's newest Green Lantern.
What?
GL. Law and order on a galactic scale. The game had been running for quite a while, and we all had a really good handle on our characters. CB had a temper, and we were wrapping up a scenario where the mastermind had messed with friends of hers. CB had seen this job as partial atonement for her past crimes. She was helping to take down some bigger criminals. After the battle with the mastermind's superpowered minions, CB and GL were tasked to bring in the mastermind. Then out of the blue, GL ditched her, saying that she wasn't trustworthy to be in on the arrest. He went off and handled things himself.
Whoa.
Wild turn there. CB was stunned. She was not trusted, not a real team member. That previously mentioned temper flared, and she quit the team. Dude and I leaned back from the table. GM was like, what the fuck happened? Now, Dude and I were fine. In character, stayed pretty much in character. Still, this was a mess. We wrapped the session. Next week, GM says, we need to deal with this. Dude and I agree. Here's the plan. A neutral NPC will bring CB and GL together. We'll have them hash it out, and we can get back to the team. And here's the crux of it. We started, both of us players, fully intending for our characters to patch things up. But when we switched on the PC in our heads... But when we switched on the PC in our heads, it was like we could not make it happen. GL would say something, then CB would react the wrong way, then GL would get defensive, then CB would start crying, then GL would go all stony. What the fuck? Anyway. After like 20 minutes, the GM stepped back in. Both Dude and I were totally in our characters' heads, what I've heard called deep immersion. Even though both players really wanted to end with hugs and kisses, the characters would not let it happen. So my question, have you ever been so deep into your character that it started doing things you didn't want it to do? Note, not like it was totally in character for me to do the stupid thing, when it's obvious the player wanted to do the stupid thing. Yours, Torlin. P.S. Kadave and simulation and crew evaluations. Brilliant.
This is from the past.
Oh my god. Oh my god. This feels like a prank. This email is from around the time I did my first Happy Jack campaign. Christ. PPS Stu, run a 1920s game so Kimmy can play Dorothy again. The flapper needs more screen time. PPPS and vibe.
Huzzah.
Wild.
I do have to call out, Verk brought us some drinks, and I'm drinking a Newtopia cider called Chimea River. It is really good.
Delicious.
So delicious. I am like a connoisseur of ciders. I love ciders, and this one is fantastic. Really good. Yeah. I was wondering, I was like, I wonder if they'll remember. That'll be amazing.
Wild.
I loved the fact with that game that Bill was listening off in London, I think.
Yeah.
And was like, please let me write crew evaluations for everybody. And I was like, yes, please do that.
Please do the thing. Yeah.
So we played that game in 2018. Mm-hmm. Since we played that game, I've come back to Dave. I've watched a Star Trek, kind of. And I went back to Dave. I was like, I want to play the captain.
Yeah.
I'm coming back and I'm playing the captain.
Amazing.
The A Star Trek I have watched is DS9. So, and I haven't finished it, but like, that's the only Star Trek I have now. So I want to play the game again but I'm playing DS9. The rest of y'all can play whatever you want.
I love DS9 because it points out like the flaws in the Federation, hey, we've got our shit together, but like a lot of places still don't, and we have to deal with that. And it's just
I love it so much.
It's so good. It's chef's kiss.
The crusty edges of utopian society.
Yeah.
Like, where it brushes up against other things.
And capitalism's there, and like
weird.
Yeah, it's super interesting. It's so great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love DS9. All right. Also, I love the cooking. It's silly, but like it made perfect sense. The first time they said it, I had never really thought of it before. Like, oh yeah, if a replicator makes your food, it always tastes exactly the same. Mm-hmm. So the fact that Cisco loves like getting ingredients and actually cooking, I loved like the little dashes of life they put in there.
So good.
It's so good.
It's mostly world building and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes from like Space Mall to like this really deep, like existential, what is, civilization. And you're just like, how did that happen? So good.
Every time.
Yep. All right. Anyway, so sidebar. Also, like observation about this, like I'm sort of impressed by the GM. It takes a good GM to make an interesting story with what sounds like basically Catwoman and Green Lantern, because those are drastically different power levels.
That too. I wasn't even thinking of that.
Just super hard.
Yeah, can we talk like I really struggle with any like Batman style superhero where their power is stuff.
Yeah. Like I practice a lot.
Yeah.
Like that's your power.
Thanks, I did gymnastics.
Yeah. I mean, with Batman, like if it's a good writer, I have opinions on this. If it's a good writer, like Batman is just brilliance.
Yes.
And he's willing to do the thing that other other Justice League members won't do. Like he's terrifying. And so there's like the edge. Now if it's not written well, then it doesn't make sense, because it's like, why is Batman hanging out with Superman other than like, why is he on this team? And he's supposed to be, and this is the one thing they haven't gotten in the movies, is like sort
Just
of
the one thing.
Yeah. Well, no,
one.
many. But the one thing I'm gonna really get, like,
Sure.
like he's like a CrossFit dude. Like Superman doesn't need a CrossFit dude. Like he doesn't need you. So they need to go back to where Batman is like the amazing like detective, like the world's best detective. Like that's the point of him being there, is he's the big brain.
He should be Sherlock Holmes in tights, like
Yeah.
Holmes thing.
Yeah, exactly. And like Superman's really smart and a good person, but like Batman's the one who's like, I figured out this mystery. This is who it is. And that is the reason he's there, and that is the only way it makes sense. If he's Batfleck and he just pushes tires around in his off time, there's no reason for him to be there. Sorry.
Batman is a CrossFit dude is now just... I hate it because it's true and I'm mad about it.
There's so many things I hated in that movie, but like I just watched that part. I was like, oh my God. Like,
That's one of my big reasons why I was never a DC comic fan. Is too many of their heroes are these ultimate power level people that it never, like Superman as a character never made sense to me. Because you have an invincible character that's invincible unless somebody finds, and think about the astronomical chances of how many little shards of his home planet might have landed on Earth.
Clearly a lot,
Galaxies
actually.
away. Right.
A metric fucked up,
Right? Yeah,
apparently.
Okay, your planet blew up, cool. Maybe one tiny piece got caught in the wake of your baby pod and flew all the way here.
Well, we're always having like random meteors of other people hitting the Earth.
Superman stories that make sense to me are the ones where he can't use his power to solve the problem.
Yes.
Right? That's great. That's an interesting take on that.
yes.
But it's like the number of villains that end up fighting him. I'm like, no, it just what?
Yeah.
There's so many ways that he could just annihilate all the problems of DC Earth. It's what? Well, okay.
No, you're right. You're absolutely. There's this is taking a wild turn. There's
We will get back to the character question. I promise.
Yes.
There is a world in which, because I've just made this dumb connection, Superman's biggest like rival, Lex Luthor, is Batman.
Oh, yeah.
Why have I just figured that out?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I just got there.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
But like, yeah, Lex Luthor, just a guy with a lot of money.
And very smart. Like, that's the...
And very smart.
Like, that has to be the interesting kind of play, because when it's done well, like I'm obviously very passionate about these characters. There may have been one date where I got a little tipsy with my husband and I literally started crying because I was talking so passionately about Superman and how he should be done in a movie. And I was just like, and they just don't do it. And then they just, and like, he was just like, I love you so much. He agrees. He's also there in the fandom with me, so it helps. But yeah, we have really nerdy fucking dates. But
How surprise.
yeah. But yes, like there's that power dynamic, so it has to be like Superman is not actually Superman, and that's the key to that character. Like one of my favorite shows is Batman Beyond, the animated series. And there's old Bruce Wayne in that, and he's training up Terry to be like the new Batman. And in one episode, if you haven't watched it, it's great. Like, it's so good. One episode, someone's like trying to trick Bruce into thinking he's having mental issues. So, and Terry's like, at the end of it, like, because it's like a trick. How did you know that you weren't, losing your mind, that you weren't, and he's like, I kept calling myself Bruce. That's not what I call myself when I think to myself. Because that's the key difference between those characters. Superman is Clark Kent, who pretends to be Superman. So if he had his perfect world, he would just go live on a farm and do his Daily Planet stuff and fly once in a while because that's fun. He wouldn't ever do the crime stuff. He feels like it's his responsibility that he has to do that. Batman is Batman, who pretends to be Bruce Wayne because it's like his cover.
Yeah.
And that has to be the difference between those characters. They are literally like opposite sides of the coin. One has incredible powers and doesn't really want it, just wants to be normal. And one has no powers and wants to make a huge difference and have all those powers. And that has to be how they counter each other.
And Superman had a middle-class Kansas education, so
yeah,
not to disparage that, but I can't imagine it's versus millionaire private school education.
Yeah. So so those are the differences. You have to play those two characters off of each other, with Wonder Woman kind of being like the outside influence for the Trinity to really work well. And if you do it well, it can be amazing, and it works so well. And then a lot of people get lazy or don't quite understand it, and then they don't. Then they have to listen to my podcast and listen to me tell you how to do it.
Dave, cut this out later.
Yeah.
Nope. Jason's on duty now.
Yeah.
I'm on vacation.
I mean, it makes sense. But yeah, I mean, at me if you want to talk a lot about DC Comics. I'm so nervous about the Wonder Woman video game. I'm excited and also nervous. They haven't released anything, and it's gotten through like a bunch of different changes. But then they released kind of the synopsis of the story of it, and I'm so excited about the story. But I don't trust it. I'm like so nervous. So anyway, that's completely off topic. Maybe I'll wait till after this to talk about it. But anyway. Okay. So yes, I'm super impressed by the GM being able to balance Catwoman and Green Lantern.
I forgot that's how this started.
Yeah, that's wild. And well done to make that interesting, because that's hard. I think, I would be interested to know what the impetus was for the sudden out of nowhere Green Lantern being like, I don't trust you. You can't be trusted.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's a little tidbit of like information missing there. Like, was it really out of nowhere? Is like in the previous session, had they talked about crimes she used to commit? I don't know. It feels odd that would suddenly happen.
It's, yeah. The being deep into character that it adjusted thing, like the character made the choice, not you, is such a, like, we talk about bleed and like certain, it's such a, bleed is a neutral term, and then people have implications that go with it. For the people who aren't familiar with it, I guess I'm just going to say really fast. It's when your feelings affect the character, or the character feelings affect you. So like, it's why I tend to not advise people get into relationships in LARP, because it's you get really into these big characters, and then you get out of it and you're like, do I have feelings for this person? Or
it's like when cast members in a movie or play start dating, you're like, now are we dating because our characters are in love and we practice 800 times a day to be in love, or are we actually in love? Yeah,
it's like the feelings are, and it kind of leads back into like being deep into character. Our brains are really bad at distinguishing real feelings from feelings that we're getting through simulation, which is why horror movies are a safe way to experience terror. And in the same way, and like, again, why roleplay can be really good for working through how you deal with certain situations. It's not therapy, but it helps. It like, anytime someone tells me, like, I was just so into character, I just didn't even think about it, I get very, very nervous. It just makes me really nervous because, like, it feels very bleedy. And clearly in this case, like, the players are fine, but the characters are so into it that it's fighting them. And that to me feels like, because my other, like, big thing is find a way. Like, if you want to go with these people on an adventure and you are the lawful good paladin, find a reason to go. Find a reason to make up. Maybe it's say, like, I'll give you a pass, not a pass, but like, I'm watching you, this is your first strike. Yeah, I don't know. It's so, like, when I get into that situation, it's like, my character would not do any of this. The answer is always to me like, fuck it, you're here though, so you kind of have to. Yeah.
But it seems like they've been working together for a long time, so there's like some sort of trust buildup, I would hope, or like some proof of, like, I've changed my ways. I'm no longer the cat burglar. I'm now sort of the anti-hero. So yeah, it's a little strange that would happen out of nowhere. And speaking of bleed, it feels to me like in that conversation, like, you can get very in character, but if you literally, like, can't, like, really plan and you just kind of, like, are writing it, like, it feels like there's a lot of bleed happening, which can be fine. But if neither one of you are able to get to a place where your characters are agreeing with each other in any way, then it feels like there's something underlying there that's not in game.
Right.
And I don't know if it's you're just having so much fun getting out these negative emotions, like, from other things in your life. Like, maybe, you know, it's like the thing where you go yell into a pillow and then you feel better about something else, and the pillow didn't do anything to you. But maybe
It knows what it did.
yeah, it knows what it did.
Pillow knows.
But maybe having that argument with each other was just, like, cathartic about other things in your lives, or maybe there's underlying tension with the two of you about, like, disliking each other that you haven't, like, worked through. I know.
My romance novel brain is like, they like each other. But we just talked about this.
See, I've had, I guess I'd have to call it anti-bleed by that definition, where, like, specifically the incident with you, playing my character, I made choices that I, as a person, immediately felt terrible about, and was like...
Wait, you're going to have to be more specific. Which time?
I do think...
Specifically, the first thing that popped in my head reading this was when I killed your goat
The
pet.
goat. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Like, I was playing...
You were playing Traveler.
Essentially, my accidental
Duke.
Duke
Yes.
of the Imperium in Traveler,
Yeah.
because I just kept rolling to add the social standing.
Wild.
So I ended up with the social standing one below the Emperor.
Wild.
And I'm like, okay. And Stu's like, this game has changed now. I will prepare something different. And we started playing, and basically, but, like, we did the thing where there has to be a reason why you're now on an adventure.
Yes.
Right? So basically mine was that he was kind of out of money and owed people and things. He's kind of on the run about this, but he had grown up in a family that had all the money ever and all the influence ever. And so when he's on a ship with a crew, even though he's down in the dumps now, of course he behaves like an insolent kid.
Yeah.
Because he's never had anyone tell him no or not do exactly as he tells them. So when one thing came up, he was immediately this petulant child that was like, throw that goat out the airlock. I don't want it on my ship. And, like, immediately I was like, I just said that. That was terrible. I'm a terrible person now. And, like, I ended up buying a stuffed animal goat as an apology
Oh my God.
in real life.
I know
because I felt
that's
so
bleed,
bad
but
about
like
it.
the reverse of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It was an anti-bleed situation of, like, I felt completely right making the choice in character.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it happened, I was like, oh, I don't want to touch that anymore. That's icky.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
Weird.
Laura Lynn plays with that goat all the time. She loves the goat. It used to be out here with our Happy Jacks, like, collection of memorabilia. Thank you, I can talk. But now she like came out here one time and adopted it, and so now it's her pet goat that's in there. But yeah, no, that's a really great example because it was so bizarre too in that moment. It was like, yeah, this is the right choice. I can't believe Dave just said that. Like,
Dave.
yeah.
Yeah. That's not my jam as a
No.
player even.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But it felt right, and like it did. I was shocked, but it also was like, nope, that tracks with like what's happening.
I will say, I just realized I do have a situation that's very much like this because I play a very antagonistic character for All Night Society. And I was like, oh, wait, no, we fight all the time. And we have this, like, my All Night Society character is a bitch and just wild. And she, like, and part of it is, like, sometimes you kind of get in the mode of arguing. And so you get a little bit of the, like, and that can be, and part of it is that, you, like, and yeah, it's like, oh, my character doesn't want to back down, so I'm gonna just sit here. I'd like, you blink first. Like, you can get in that headspace, and because the characters don't feel like they have other things to do today. Like, the characters are still waiting for a call to action, so let's fight now. Like, it's a little bit of that. Like, I can just get lost in that a little bit. And, like, also expecting, like, the other half of it to be the one to back down, like, it, like, out of character, being like, oh, I can see the reasons you would back down. So it's really just a miscommunication outside of it, being like, oh, wait, I didn't, okay, I guess you won't. Like, I can see that situation happening in this particular instance where it's like, I don't know, we just got in a weird, like, recursive loop, and it's really fun to argue. Like, it is fun to be a bitch a lot.
Sometimes,
Yeah, in a safe environment where people know that you're being bitchy in character and not out of character.
Exactly.
I'm really good at Sedaine, it turns out.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't want to go there, but I did discover I'm pretty good at Sedaine. I also can't take it, so I cry.
Yeah. So I've only felt this a couple times when I was playing something that was like too close to myself. And there's been a couple times where that's happened. And so I don't know if it's being so in character or if it's being so myself that just happened to align with the character. So I don't know if that counts for the emails question.
Is it all a performance?
Yeah, I mean, so like there's been times where I like really cried and like I don't know. There's been a bit of a difference, and there have been times where I never like on stream games, but there was some times where we used to have like the 5e game we did years ago. Just like knock down, drag out like arguments like between me and Tappy, or like me and Stork, or like Tappy and Stork. Like,
In fairness,
yes.
Tappy.
Agreed, but also Stork and also me. Like,
yeah.
There was just like, there were times where it just like, and it was again that kind of like gray line of like, are we angry at each other? Like, are we fighting in character, or are we fighting out of character, even though we're using character voices? Like, so I feel like that's kind of the impetus a lot of times, is not so much, most of the time it's not that people are so in character they can't make a different decision. It's that they are playing a character that might be too close to how they are currently also feeling, and so can't just, delineate between those two things.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a long time ago, but I'd be super interested to find out like what ended up happening.
Yeah, what did happen?
How did that roll together?
I have to
Tarlin.
look through the emails and see like,
Yeah.
did he write back? Did he give us an update?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's super interesting. Because that would be a thing where I would almost like be like, maybe you need to, roll up a new character, or maybe we need to change this, or does it then become? I mean, it could be really interesting if you only have 2 players. It could be really interesting to have like a PvP type game between 2 supers.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a hard, like, depending on what system. It doesn't. I don't think it said what system they were using.
I don't think it did. My guess is masks.
Maybe, or I mean, this was a wild talents, like, but masks would probably be a good guess. Just because it's one of the only ones I could see where you could actually play with 2 very disparate levels like that.
It's the only superhero game I can think of, so that's why I was like, masks.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, because I can't imagine like like champions, definitely not. Or,
I mean,
yeah.
I struggle to think about playing a character with the fantastical powers of Green Lantern and being upset with somebody for breaking the law and not just stopping them from breaking the law. Like,
In fairness,
you know, like,
the
okay.
Green Lantern stopped by wood. So, like...
Yeah, but, like...
Sorry, not thinking about power level
No.
stuff.
Unless they're...
Like yellow. Anything yellow can stop a Green Lantern. I mean, depending on where you're like at. So if she decided to be a yellow Catwoman and just like a yellow cat suit, fuck you! You can't touch
walk
me.
right through the bars of the green cave.
I mean, that's not always true, and it depends on like which series run. But wait, yeah,
Sorry, but yes, you're right. Like, he's got a lot more power, like, on the societal and, I guess, superhero level.
Yeah.
Right.
So I feel...
And especially
Yeah.
when you consider the fact that there's a whole mess of them.
God, there's... Yeah!
Like,
Hold on, he has
It's not
backup.
just one guy. He can call for help. Like,
yeah. Help me with the leotard gymnastics criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a black belt in Taekwondo, but I can conjure ghost. I can conjure like phantasmic objects with a ring
Yeah.
and my positive thoughts. She's giving me a hard time.
boy, I try to think of things, but she's pretty fast.
Slippery. I made an anvil and just...
I thought of stuff pretty fast, but you haven't seen what's going on.
She tried to go for the gold when she was 16 and like honestly just didn't make it. So now she's real talented.
No, she's a
She
cat
does
burglar.
yoga every day.
She's so flexible. I can't compete with the flexibility of this woman.
Oh no.
I zap her with my green leaf, and she goes. Have you seen like what is it oh gosh, what's the one with Catherine Zeta-Jones and
Entrapment?
yes, Entrapment, where she like
Dodging
does
through
the
those-
sexy like butt through the lasers.
Sorry. In chat, she parkoured real hard at me.
Exactly. Like,
I mean, I'm not an expert in any stretch of the imagination, but couldn't he just create like an entire city block out of green?
yes, 100%.
And be like, cool, escape now. It's got 700-story steel walls around it. Like,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, there's-
Yeah.
yeah,
Like-
nothing Catwoman could do in that situation.
Yellow cat suit. Just say yellow cat
there
suit.
you go.
She's also theoretically as smart as Batman.
Yeah.
And we just discussed being smart, being a super... Is Green Lantern dumb?
Usually he's not supposed to be. He's like it depends on which Green Lantern, but generally like he's like a test pilot, like flyer for like Hal Jordan, like the normal that they went for that.
Yeah, I
so.
have no frame of reference for how smart a test pilot's supposed to be either.
Yeah, it varies depending on the writer, but like definitely not like Batman level smart.
Yeah, so...
And he is kind of written sometimes. And then if you're talking about Guy Gardner Zero, like very like that, I could totally buy
Himbo?
Catwoman like beating the shit out of him like 100%.
And like he can fly away into space.
Yeah. I don't think Guy Gardner would think of that.
Catwoman's like, I'm gonna get you, and he's like, oh no! What?
Oh my god!
I can't put a giant green bubble around myself and go to space.
She stole my Kid Rock tickets. I don't know what to do. Like, it's 100% Guy Gardner.
Honestly, I do feel like Catwoman steal Green Lantern's ring. You're done. He is just a man.
Yeah, that would be her move. 100%. Like purring at him a little bit, be like, "Oh, hello. I technically take him, but where's my ring?" Like, yeah.
In that case, points to Catwoman.
Yeah.
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 Technically
the
a jewelry
unexpected
thief.
approach, the pickpocket, the oh, how nice to meet you. There goes
Yeah.
your ring. You know, like, great, yeah.
Also, hear me out. It'd be kind of embarrassing to have to call your buddies to take out someone with that disparate level.
Right.
Mom, pick me up.
All right. I feel like we've gotten to the end of the productive part of this show.
And I just can't stop thinking about it. Mom, this Justice League is a prison.
Oh, I forget. In the two comic book series that I really loved that kind of dealt with like the power level outrageousness, it was like Incorruptible and Irredeemable.
Oh, yeah.
The ones where like the Superman analog in the world is finally done with it. Like he's
I
like,
liked
all you
those.
people don't appreciate all the things I do for you, and I'm not gonna save every cat in every tree. I'm one person. Fucking figure it out. And you know what? Maybe the only way I can get you all to behave is if I make you behave. And then he goes rampaging around, and the Justice League analog, all of them are like, what the fuck do? We gotta get out of here.
Oh, it's great.
And deal with it, yeah.
Yeah.
There's also, man, this was a very, then they made the game where you get to beat them all up.
Injustice.
Injustice is also that, where like Superman's like, I'm done being nice, actually. And it's great. It gets weird.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like he could just figure out the Gotham problems in like an hour.
Honestly, I get that, like, every time in Gotham, the bad guy's like, oh no, Batman's coming. Like, that's like a big thing. I do feel like if Superman was like stewarding Gotham, they just wouldn't. They'd be like, he flies.
Yeah.
Like, I'm actually done.
He listens to people from space.
Yeah. It turns out I wanted all these DVD players and now I don't.
I mean, that was actually one of my favorite bits on The Boys, where like Homelander was searching for the group, and he's literally just flying over square, like doing a grid search pattern over the city because he could hear everybody there. I'm like, yeah, that's fucking terrifying.
Yeah. They should be regulated. Turns out I'm on the wrong side of the X-Men, apparently.
Yeah. Good job, Civil War. Okay.
I'm just putting it out there that, like, gay people can't murder you with their thoughts. The analog thing where they're like, it's
But they slay.
But they slay.
Sorry. Happy last day of Pride Month. Okay. Okay, thank you for joining us for Season 34, Episode 2 of the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. Thank you to our chat mod, James V, and to our amazing Patreons who keep us ad-free and independent. You can join their amazing ranks at happyjacks.org/Patreon. My name is Kimmy.
I'm Clara.
And I'm Kadave.
And today we're going to leave you with a song called Troll Whack by our friends from the Dread Crew of Oddwood. And we will see you next week.
The Dread Crew.
Go to goldenlasso.com. goldenlassogames.com/Kickstarter and follow the Golden Lasso Games.
Support Kimmy or we'll be sad.
All right, bye.
We'll send Catwoman.